Clara's heart was racing as she stood before the golden doors of the restaurant, wearing a borrowed dress, neatly pressed, clutching a second-hand purse like it was the only thing holding her courage together. The glittering city lights shimmered behind her, but inside, crystal chandeliers and the laughter of wealth called her into a world that wasn't hers. Her phone buzzed. A message appeared. "I'm by the window." She took a deep breath and stepped into a place that felt like another universe. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and stories that touch the soul, don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Because soft heart is where pain turns into warmth, and every broken heart learns to heal. The restaurant looked like a palace. Glasses sparkled like diamonds, silver spoons glowed under the light, and the scent of luxury filled the air. Clara's heels clicked softly on the marble floor as she followed the waiter toward the table by the window. A man stood up, smiling. Ethan. He looked exactly like his pictures, maybe even better. His clothes were simple but expensive, his face calm yet kind, his smile confident but not arrogant. For a moment, Clara felt a wave of comfort. Maybe this wouldn't be so bad. Maybe tonight would be special. She sat down, trying to keep her breathing steady, and for a brief second, it felt like she belonged. But when the waiter handed her the menu, that fragile dream began to crack. The golden letters danced before her eyes, prices higher than her weekly paycheck. $30 for a salad, $20 for a bottle of water. Her fingers trembled as she flipped the pages, pretending to read. Around her, laughter floated through the air, plates gleamed, and music played softly. Yet inside her, a quiet panic began to rise. Ethan was talking happily about his work, his dog Murphy, a trip he once took to Italy. Clara nodded, forcing a smile, but her mind was somewhere else entirely. The numbers on the menu screamed louder. Then his words. When the waiter returned, pen poised, Ethan ordered confidently. Then came her turn. Clara froze. Her throat went dry. "I'm fine," she whispered. "I already ate." Ethan paused, just for a second. Then he nodded politely and handed the menu back. But Clara's cheeks were burning. She could feel the weight of embarrassment pressing down on her. The laughter around her suddenly sounded cruel. She wanted to disappear. Moments passed. Ethan looked at her quietly, concern flickering in his eyes. "Are you okay?" he asked softly. The simple kindness in his tone shattered the wall she had built. Clara lowered her eyes and spoke the truth in a trembling voice. I didn't know this place would be so expensive. I can't afford anything here. Maybe I shouldn't have come." Silence. The kind that stretches and tightens every heartbeat. The candle between them flickered. Clara braced herself for humiliation, for laughter, pity, or an awkward excuse to leave, but none of that came. Ethan simply smiled. "Then let's get out of here," he said gently. "Come on." Before she could protest, he stood up, left some cash on the table, and held the door for her. Clara followed, confused and nervous. The cold air outside hit her face like a wave of relief. They walked quietly for a while, the city glittering around them. Finally, Ethan stopped by a small food cart glowing under a streetlight. "Ever tried one of these?" he asked, pointing to the sizzling hot dogs. Clara blinked and then laughed, a real laugh, free and light. "No," she said, "but I think I can afford it." They ordered two, sat by the sidewalk, and ate under the soft glow of the city lights. Steam rose from the food, the night air was crisp, and the sound of cars hummed in the distance. For the first time that evening, Clara felt completely at peace. "Funny," Ethan said after a while, glancing at her. "My mom used to tell me, you find the best people when you least expect them." She smiled, and something inside her shifted. The fear, the shame, the feeling of being less, it all melted away in the warmth of his words. That night, they talked for hours about childhood dreams, struggles, and tiny hopes they never shared with anyone. Clara told him about her mother's illness, about working 2 jobs to pay for her medicine, about wanting to become a nurse someday. Ethan listened, not with pity, but with admiration. Weeks turned into months. The blind date that almost ended in embarrassment became something tender, something real. They began to see each other more often. Not in fancy restaurants, but at quiet coffee shops in city parks and near the hospital where Clara worked. Ethan never made her feel small. He never tried to fix her, he simply stood beside her, steady and kind. With him, Clara began to believe that maybe she was enough. Then, one evening, after her long shift, she came home to find Ethan waiting by her door, holding an envelope. "What's this?" she asked, wiping her tired eyes. "Just open it," he said, smiling. Inside was a letter, a scholarship acceptance form from a nursing program she had once applied for months ago but assumed she'd never hear back from. At the bottom, her name was written in bold. Her eyes widened. "How?" Ethan shrugged, smiling softly. "Sometimes," he said, "someone just wants to give you the chance you already deserve." Tears welled in her eyes. For so long she had been surviving, not living, holding her world together with hope and fear. But now, for the first time, she felt seen, truly seen. Months later, Clara graduated. She wore her crisp white uniform proudly, holding her nursing certificate close to her chest. Her mother, now healthier, smiled wider than she had in years. And outside the hall under a blue sky, Ethan was waiting, flowers in his hand, pride in his eyes. They walked together to the riverside, the same spot where they had shared their first street-side meal. The city lights shimmered on the water. Clara turned to him, her voice soft but sure. "Remember that night? I couldn't afford the menu." Ethan laughed. "Yeah, but I think we got something better instead." She nodded. "Maybe the best things in life don't come with a price tag." He took her hand. "Or maybe the best things just take a little kindness to find." If this story touched your heart, please like, comment, share, and subscribe, because here on Soft Heart, every story heals a little, and every act of kindness finds its way home. Now take a moment and tell us in the comments below, have you ever experienced a moment when someone's kindness changed your life? The city lights flickered softly on the river, wrapping the two of them in a gentle glow. They sat together in peaceful silence, proof that sometimes the most beautiful nights aren't the ones you can afford, but the ones that remind you what truly matters.